First-person shooters are extremely common nowadays, and most everyone who's played a video game today has most likely played an FPS. However, if you were to go back 20 years, most gamers back then were probably more likely to play a real-time strategy game like Warcraft, Age of Empires, Company of Heroes, or Command & Conquer. These RTS games were absolutely dominant in the PC gaming landscape, and if you're a boomer like myself, then you're probably missing them from time to time, and if you're also like me and you like to play slower-paced tactical shooter games like Squad, you've probably thought to yourself, what if Squad was an RTS game? You know, like what if you could still do all that first-person shooter stuff, like get in infantry firefights, drive tanks, and fly helicopters, but what if you could also do things like build bases and really command the team from a top-down perspective? Well, I had the opportunity to play a mod for Squad called SATCOM, which has blurred the lines between real-time strategy and first-person shooter, creating a gaming experience unlike anything I've really seen before. The game starts just like any other game of Squad. Two teams split up and divvy themselves into squads on either side of the map, but instead of deploying at a typical main base, you start at a headquarters. Here, one player will be selected as a commander and can then enter the base to use the command terminal, where he will then see a top-down view of the base. Using build and ammo resources, he can then command. It's just like a player's view while in an RTS game, and as the commander, you will try to lead your team to victory by organizing resource gathering, building tech upgrades, getting base defenses up and running, and managing your economy. Oh, and as you're watching this, you might be thinking, hey, this kind of looks like Command & Conquer, and that's because it really does look like Command & Conquer. It's heavily influenced by that game, with structures like the power plants, barracks, and even the war center looking incredibly similar. I think it does a fantastic job about having that Command & Conquer air without being straight ripoffs, and that's when I think a mod can be very successful. You want hints of those nostalgic games. You don't want complete carbon copies. Now, this is an incredibly unique way to play an FPS game, and with real-time strategy games making a bit of a resurgence right now, as well as the fact that tactical shooter players are more likely to support this type of gameplay that needs heavy teamwork, I think this mod has found the perfect balance. Most games start off by front-loading Logi vehicles and lightly armored Vics to move out to secure oil derricks, which are control points that give passive resource gain, as well as securing resource depots, which are locations where Logi can load up builder ammo. Think of these as your ore fields or gold mines in your favorite RTS games. Just like those games, the early game is so important, and you need to make sure that you get all of these Logis and do enough Logi runs, pulling the build, pulling the ammo, so that way command can get the base upgrades needed to get through the tech tree. Players then try and secure these Logi routes while interrupting the enemy team's economy. And although it shouldn't be surprising since this is essentially an RTS game, it still was seeing it for the very first time. The early game economy is so important, and the team which has more map presence and better econ would soon snowball into mid and late game tech, resulting in overwhelming firepower. It was incredibly cool to see this live, and I will have a video releasing tomorrow of an entire Eye in the Sky game of SATCOM, so if you would like to see the complete game on how this plays out, do make sure to check that out tomorrow. But okay, so you've got some cool RTS elements. The base building and resource gathering is fine, but if you don't really care about any of that and just want to move out and blow stuff up, you can still do that, and I almost feel like it's a faster paced and less punishing game for the average player than a normal round of Squad because there are no tickets, only resources. But it's still important to not lose those resources because they're so sparse. You need map control to get the oil derricks, you need map control to get the resource depots, and you need to secure the Logis and secure the Logi routes so that way the player that just spent 5 minutes going up and down the map is not just punished for doing it and you just waste a vehicle immediately when it spawns. Take StarCraft for example, you just grab a CV or drone and just right click on that mineral field and then not even think about it. But in this game as a commander, you're not just right clicking and say going to the resource field. You're giving a player a Logi, having a real player jump in that Logi himself and then drive to the resource field, get all of the materials and then drive back. It's a lot more important, and you need to really value these players' times because they're part of your team and they're actual players playing this game. It's really cool and a completely unique way of making these mundane RTS elements actual important events in game. But in saying that, and as important as these resources are and these logi runs are, it doesn't really matter if you get killed. You just have to respawn. You don't lose a ticket. The game isn't going to artificially just go away if you lose 50 vehicles. If you lose one, just ask command to spawn in one more if you have the ammo. If a building blows up, well, if you got enough build, you can just build it again. Get some more walls up, add some MG turrets, increase your tech so that way you can get some anti-tank turrets. There's no cooldown to tanks, there's no main camping prevention, there's no hindrance to whatever you want to do in the game. And SATCOM goes one further by also adding brand new weapons and vehicles as well. Yeah, there's attack helicopters and man pads. Progress high enough to the tech tree and you can get things like Little Birds, Blackhawks with rocket pods, and even Apaches. But be careful, because infantry are now an actual threat and can easily take you out if you're not flaring because of the anti-air weapons. We got a Little Bird on the field, and they're pushing straight down the middle, gonna try to harass some logi. Oh, and there goes Stingers. Oh, no flares out. The moment the Little Bird was in the air, no defenses, no flares, and air defense works. This is a fantastic addition to the game, and it makes playing SATCOM engaging even if you're not the commander calling the shots, and even if deep down inside you really don't care about RTS games. If you want to be a pilot or you like playing in armor, I would argue it's actually better to play in SATCOM because of the frequency of the amount of armor that you're going to have available to you, as well as the engagements you're going to be able to get in. And they know that Bradley is right out north of the base, and Russia, although they've been seriously hurt in the early game, I think the US's lack of resource management in the mid game is going to cost them as T-72 rolls out, and they know exactly where to look for.
Yo, hey, watch out, there's a bunch of guys here.
They have an M, just left main.
Why would you open with that? I really hope this mod takes off, and I do know that the devs have been getting servers going every few days to keep improving the gameplay and to continue playtesting. I will link the Discord in the description below if you do want to check it out. Highly recommend it, and this is really just scratching the surface too. And I'm sure as communities begin to play SATCOM, as more people get to experience SATCOM, base metas will start to form, tech tree builds will get nailed down, and we could even get some incredibly competitive games with things like artillery batteries, Apaches, and tank blobs, reminiscent of late game RTS matches from StarCraft or Command & Conquer. I absolutely cannot wait for this. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I will be posting this full round if you want to see how an entire game of SATCOM plays out tomorrow, so do make sure to check in for that. But what do you guys think? Does SATCOM live up to Squad, Command & Conquer? Would you be willing to play this if it popped up in your server browser? Let me know in the comments below, and if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. But that's it for me. Until next time, peace.
Vehicle ready.